She was already shouting the moment I turned the key. The metal gate groaned and slid shut with a hard clang, sealing off the road that led to the private fishing lake. Her guests were still inside the property, cars parked right by the water, fishing rods scattered around like they owned every inch of it. She sprinted toward me, face flushed, phone clenched tight in her hand, yelling that I had no right, that I couldn't do this, that she had rights. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't argue. I glanced at the brand new lock, then back at her, and calmly said, "This is private land." That single sentence flipped a switch. She exploded, threats flying, titles dropping, bragging about the HOA board, promising arrests before sunset. One of her guests laughed nervously and told her to just let them leave. She snapped at him too, barking orders like she controlled everyone present. I stayed silent on purpose, because I knew something she didn't. The lake, the road, the gate, every inch of it legally belonged to me, and that lock wasn't trapping her guests, it was trapping her lies. She didn't hesitate. She stepped back, hit dial, and put the phone on speaker like it was a weapon. Loud enough for everyone to hear, she said there was a man blocking a public road and holding people hostage. Phones came out. Guests shifted uncomfortably. She pointed at me with a smug smile and whispered, "You're finished." A few minutes later, a black SUV rolled in. No lights, no sirens. Two men stepped out in dark uniforms, badges hanging just a little too wrong. One of them shouted for me to open the gate immediately. I noticed it instantly. Wrong patches, no body cameras, cheap badges. Karen crossed her arms and smiled like she'd already won. She announced proudly that she had authority here. I didn't raise my voice, I asked one calm question. "Which department?" The taller guy hesitated, just half a second. But that pause said everything. I slowly reached into my pocket, not panicked, not rushed, and started recording. This wasn't my first time dealing with someone trying to push me off my own land, and I knew how this ended. The shorter guy stepped forward, puffed up, warning me again. Karen jumped in fast, screaming for my arrest, claiming I was trespassing and blocking emergency access. One guest whispered that something felt wrong. She shot him a look that shut him up instantly. I pulled my wallet out slowly and held it where the camera could see. "Before you touch me," I said evenly, "you might want to call this in." Karen laughed, said I was bluffing. Then the taller fake cop's phone vibrated. His face strained as he listened. He walked away, voice low and shaky. Karen noticed immediately. She demanded to know what was happening. He didn't answer her. I leaned back against the gate and said calmly, "You should have checked the land records and my name." The lake was perfectly still. The air felt heavy. She thought I was trapped. She didn't realize she was standing in front of a wall she couldn't break. Before she could speak again, a real patrol car rolled in, lights on this time, slow and deliberate. Karen's smile froze in place. One guest quietly started packing his gear. The fake cop straightened up, trying to look official again, but it was already over. The real officer stepped out, eyes scanning badges, uniforms, the locked gate, and finally Karen. "Who called this in?" She rushed forward, words tumbling out, accusing me of abuse, trespassing, power plays. The officer didn't look at me yet. He asked her one simple question instead. "Ma'am, do you own this land?" She opened her mouth, then stopped. I finally spoke, slow and clear. "No, she doesn't." I handed the officer my phone, still recording, and the property documents saved offline. His tone shifted immediately. He confirmed the ownership. Karen's face went pale. The loudest person there suddenly had nothing to say. Her scream echoed across the lake as the officer approached her calmly and explained the seriousness of impersonating law enforcement and making threats on private property. She tried to argue, but her voice cracked. Her own guests filmed her breakdown. One of the fake cops backed away, realizing their badges meant nothing now. The officer asked me quietly if there was anything else I wanted to add. I smiled, nodded toward the gate, and said, "Justice works best when it's quiet." Her threats collapsed into stutters, then silence. As Karen was handcuffed, her guests slowly filtered out, some shaking their heads, some filming every second. The fake cops disappeared, mumbling excuses no one cared about. I stayed by the gate, arms crossed, listening to the lake settle back into calm. A neighbor stepped out from the trees and said, "You didn't just lock the gate, you shut down her whole act." I laughed softly. She wanted a scene. She got the truth. As the sun dipped low, the lesson lingered. Power isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about standing firm when no one expects it. The gate stayed closed, not as a barrier, but as a statement. With Karen gone, her HOA threats vanished too. I walked the shoreline, picking up gear her guests had left behind. One of them thanked me for staying calm. I shrugged. A family from a nearby cabin waved, saying she wouldn't bother anyone again. My wife smiled and told me I handled it exactly as promised. And she was right. The secret wasn't anger, it was patience, planning, letting people expose themselves. She screamed about rights. I showed her who actually had them. The lake was mine, the gate was locked, and justice had its quiet victory. The end. Please subscribe my channel, watch, enjoy, and subscribe so you don't miss the next HOA story.